Connor McDavid, Canada wins! Unbelievable end to the Four Nations last night. Diving back into the NBA today, let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Friday episode of The Squeeze. I am Tyler Conniam, and yes, Canada wins the Four Nations Cup. Forgive me if I look a little disheveled today. I had to pull out the Edmonton Oilers jersey. The beard needs to go. The hair needs a cut. So I apologize for that. Got about 4 hours of sleep last night after the unbelievable overtime end to Canada winning the Four Nations Cup against USA. And there's a lot of interesting comments going on social media. One guy blocked me because I said that this was a bigger game for Canada than a Leafs game. So I got blocked on social media for that. And there's just a lot of an interesting narrative going around from, I guess you could say, the losing side about this. All of a sudden it's not important, or they were injured, or it's just one game. There's a lot going on in the world. I don't want to get into it. I have a lot of American friends, and I have nothing against American friends or America at all. There's a lot going on in the world right now. First and foremost, we all know what that is. This is not a political channel. I will not talk politics on this channel once ever at all. There's a lot going on right now. Canada hasn't put their best NHL players on the ice in an international setting in over a decade. All things considered, Sidney Crosby, 38 years old. Connor McDavid, the first time he's playing with Sidney Crosby. There's a lot that went into this game, and if you don't understand it, that is completely fine. But to say that this game doesn't matter, or that the United States has taken Canada's game because the Canadian team hasn't won a Stanley Cup in a really long time, who cares? Half the league is made up of Canadian players, so when the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship with one Canadian player, does that mean that we took back our game from the United States? Because let's be honest, Canada was invented here. The Americans have taken over that game. I'm free to admit that. But does that mean that we took that back, even though it was a collect? Like, that narrative never really makes sense to me, that because American teams are better, that they've somehow stolen the game when the league head office is in Canada and the commission. It's just this really silly narrative that if it was the other way around, we would just say stick taps, good game, shake hands, and we lose, right? Canada needed that win. Canada needed that win for a lot more reasons than it just being a hockey game. And we also did very well on betting that hockey game. We had Canada to win the game. It was also boosted at plus 365, which doesn't sync to plus 150. So actually it was like 3-unit win for me on that. As I talked about yesterday, Canada money line, Nathan MacKinnon, anytime goal scorer, he hit that. Also later, so if you're not following me on the BettingPros app, this is why you should be. I added Nathan MacKinnon to be the first goal scorer as well, which he was. That paid 4 units right out of the gate. Obviously, Sidney Crosby didn't get that goal. I am not mad at putting a quarter unit down on Sid the Kid at those odds. And it's good that we had those bets because the NBA did not go so well. Bet the NBA last night. I lost all of them. So Durant, the Suns, Brook Lopez, the Memphis Grizzlies, and Ja Morant. Those all went down. So you might want to fade these two picks there. Feel free to do that. But we're still up over 3 units for 3.5 units. Because of how we did in the Four Nations Cup. Once the NHL gets back rolling, that is going to be certainly our primary focus for the rest of the season is NHL. Lots of exciting stuff coming there. So let's talk about it today. Let's talk about the National Basketball Association. Start with what I know, which is the Toronto Raptors. They aren't good. Now, I know that they've played better lately. Heading into the All-Star break, they were, I guess, only 4-6. They lost to Cleveland, destroyed by Cleveland in the last game before the break. They did beat Philly, but actually they weren't that good. They lost to Houston, lost to OKC, lost to Memphis. They've been good against the spread at 32-22, and Miami hasn't at 21-31, but the spread is only 2.5. Like, this is a game at minus 150. I almost go and just bet money line on the Miami Heat. I don't mind that, but 2.5. If it was 3, I probably don't bet this, but 2.5, I like it because it's a 3-pointer. And look, the Miami Heat, they're going to have to start figuring it out. Jimmy Butler is gone. Moving into their rotation now, you've got Davion Mitchell, you've got Andrew Wiggins, you've got Kyle Anderson. Obviously, at the deadline, the Raptors made the big move for Brandon Ingram, who is not close to returning. So there's just a lot of uncertainty with the Raptors. Darko Rajokovic came out and said that they're just focusing on rebuilding for the rest of the year, aka they need to stop winning games. And then when you look at the injuries, Jakob Poeltl's going to be out. PJ Tucker, whatever, he doesn't even really play. They are shifting this now where they know there is 0 point in making the playoffs. They've got Brandon Ingram locked up. They've got their core. Now, if they can get a top 5 draft pick to add to that core, they're going to be in good shape. Whereas Miami, meanwhile, they're 25-28. They're currently 8th in the Eastern Conference. They've moved out their big piece in Jimmy Butler. They're going to try to make a run for it. Pat Riley is not a tank guy at all. And even though Toronto's been decent at home, I just feel like the way this season is headed, the way the Raptors played going into the break, they are not focused on winning very much at all. So give me the Miami Heat to cover this spread at -2.5. The other bet I like today, it's a 2-leg parlay. I'm not going to talk too much about these 2 legs. My voice is gone from screaming at the game last night. Like I said, 4 hours of sleep. We're not going to keep you too long here today. New York Knicks. So I'm going to take the Cavs and the Pistons on the money line. It's a -105 parlay over at DraftKings. Starting with the Cleveland Cavaliers, are 8.5-point favorites in this game, which is actually surprising against the New York Knicks. But the Knicks are battling injuries. OG Anunoby is questionable with a foot injury. Josh Hart's questionable with a knee injury. Neither played in the last game, which was they both played last night. So the New York Knicks had a 113-111 hard-fought win against the Chicago Bulls. Cleveland kind of rolled over the Brooklyn Nets. They have won 9 of their last 10 and 6 straight basketball games. So their players didn't really play super heavy minutes. You had Mitchell only played 30 minutes last night. Mobley only played 30 minutes. Then on the flip side, Achua played 46 minutes for the Knicks. Bridges 43. Karl Anthony Towns 43. Brunson 39. I look for the Knicks to be just tired. Cleveland Cavaliers are 25-4 at home this season. They're the best team in the Eastern Conference. New York's been good on the road at 17-8, but I just think coming off how they had to play last night, that hard-fought win, they even said, we don't really worry about the second half of back-to-backs very much, and they went all out there. And, oh, by the way, they are traveling from New York to Cleveland, which is not a huge trip, but there is still travel involved. So give me the Cleveland Cavaliers on leg 1, and the other leg is the Detroit Pistons against the San Antonio Spurs. Okay, so the Pistons, they have not played since coming out of the All-Star break. This is their first game in 9 days. The San Antonio Spurs did play last night. I bet on the Phoenix Suns to beat them in that game. They beat the Suns outright, 120-109, but I feel like the Wemby news comes out yesterday. He's missing the rest of the season. Maybe they rally, they get behind that, and they say, let's go out and win. Then you got to come right back again the very next day, do it again. Things start settling in, oh geez, we don't have Wembanyama for the rest of the season. They're sitting at 12th in the Western Conference. You have, De'Aaron Fox played 38 minutes last night, played a great game, but he played heavy minutes. Chris Paul played 32 minutes last night. Where is that going to go now, where you sort of have that letdown of, okay, this is our reality now. We're 12th in the Western Conference. If we've got Fox locked up, we've got Wemby, tanking might not be so bad to, again, get into that top echelon of the draft picks in this upcoming draft. You've got the Detroit Pistons, meanwhile, who are red hot. They went into the All-Star break winning 4 straight, including 2 games against Chicago. They beat the Hornets and the 76ers, so not big wins necessarily, but big wins for a team that hasn't been very good at all lately. Detroit's also 2 games above 500 on the road, which is the same as San Antonio at home. I just think you're going to get a bit of a letdown from the San Antonio Spurs now that the reality is setting in that they're not going to have Wemby. So give me the Pistons and the Cavaliers on the money line there. So those are my 2 NBA bets for today. Give me the Miami Heat to cover against the Raptors. Give me the Cavs and the Pistons on a money line parlay. Might add some more props throughout the day. Big weekend coming up, and we're starting to get back into the swing of things. NHL's coming back. F1 is starting up soon. I always have golf bets, so if you follow me on the BettingPros app, which is linked in the description, all my picks that I make are all synced, all verified, all free, so you can look there and go, oh, hey, he's up over 30 units in the last 30 days, so maybe we should tail some of those bets. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go trim this beard and get rid of this, and we'll be back next Monday with a new episode. Let's talk sports.